first step to creating a grid enlargement is to determine how big your grid needs to be on your larger paper. So the first step would be to take my small grid, in this case it's a 1/2 inch grid, and I'm going to line it up right on the corner of my reference picture. I'm just going to stick a little piece of tape on there so it doesn't move around while I'm looking at it. So I'm following the directions on the sheet. So I lined my building right here, okay? So now I need to know the size of my newsprint. All right, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to measure. I have 14 inches by 18 inches. So I'm going to write this in here, 14 by 18. Now, how many squares do I have in my picture? Make sure the grid stays lined up. I'm only counting the grid that's on the picture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a little more. So I'm going to say 7 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. All right. So also note that when I wrote this down here, my smaller number is with the smaller number, and my bigger number is with the bigger number. So now it tells me that I am dividing. So what I'm doing is dividing the size of the paper by how many squares I need. So 14 divided by 7, I even need a calculator for that one, that is 2. And 18 divided by 8, that might require a little more finesse. So that gives me 2.25, which is 2 1/4, okay? The next step says everything needs to be an even quarter. That's for the sake of measurement later on. It's just a little more straightforward. So either a quarter, a half, or 3/4, and you're gonna round down. So if this turned out to be 2.37, I would round down to 2.25. But I didn't have to round, worked out for me. All right, so I don't have to round, so I'll just move those numbers down. What's the smaller number? The smaller number is 2. So all of my boxes will be 2 inches. 2 inches. Okay, now that I have that information, I'm going to come over here to my newsprint, and I'm going to remind you how to make a nice straight grid. So I want 2-inch squares. If you want something else, then that's what you're going to mark. And I'd like to remind you that, you know, the big lines with the numbers are your inches. The biggest line, the one that hangs down the farthest right between, is the half. You know, down from that, the next longest is 1/4. This is 3/4. Same thing here. So this would be 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 2 3/4, or 3 1/2. I think you get the idea. So I'm going to line it up with the edge and check your ruler, because in this case the measurement starts at this line, not the end of the ruler. So I'm going to start with the line at the edge, and I'm going to mark every 2 inches, just a little mark. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and then my paper is 18. Now I'm going to slide it straight down to the bottom. It's important that you slide it straight down. So see, my marks are up here. I'm going straight down the page. Line it up with the edge. Mark every 2 inches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 18. Okay, from here, all I have to do is connect the dots. Connecting the dots ensures that, I'm going to lean right into the video there. Anyway, make sure it was lined up right. Connecting the dots ensures that you get nice straight lines. And I'll keep going until my paper's full. Once that's done, then you start on the other end. Same thing, a grid is squares. So you are using that same measurement for the ends as well. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And remember that mine was figured to be 2 inches. Yours might be something else. Yours could be 2 1/4. Yours could be 3. Okay, so make sure you're using your measurement and not just mine. So I measured every 2. I'm going to slide straight down the paper. And I'm going to mark every 2 inches again because remember 2 inches is my measurement. Okay, and then I connect those dots. I can get this whole thing's on there for you. I'm going to find my line, and connect. So I am on my way to creating a 2-inch grid, right? All right, once I have the grid drawn on my large paper and I have a grid on my small paper, well, I used to have a grid on my small paper. Let's put that guy back on there. Come here, buddy. Got to do your job. Okay. So now I want to label the squares on my big paper. And I have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H across the top. So that's what I'm going to do on here. Actually, I need to go this way with my paper because I want the short edge on the short edge. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now I'm going to do my numbers down the side because that's what's on my grid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Remember that A and 1 are the same grid square. We're making coordinates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I have an extra, and that's fine because the way the paper works with the measurement. So I'm just going to mark that off because I don't actually need it. So then I can start enlarging this building. And there's a couple different ways you can do it. The first one is to just draw the lines kind of individually. So if I'm looking here at the roof of this building, all right, I can say, well, the corner happens here at E2. It's just about halfway through there. So if I find E2, I'm going to kind of pencil in where that would go in the middle and put a dot. Now, how about top to bottom, right at the edge? So I can start here. Then it goes at an angle, and it goes where the lines cross and stops. I imagined half of this right here in this corner. So if I imagined it divided in a cross, it's going to come up here. So if I take this F and I pencil in my imaginary cross, all right, and it's going to come up here. So I'm going to just draw that line through those crosshairs all the way up to here where it goes. And another option would be to kind of do almost like connect the dots. So if this is the top of my building, this is this point here, it crosses the line just above halfway here. It comes across and drops just a smidge to get to here. All right, so now I have these dots. All I have to do is connect those dots. Okay, so now I've created the roof of this building by using these coordinates. You can't even see this side. Okay. All right, we are working on newsprint, so all these extra lines will go away eventually, but don't worry, you don't actually have to redraw it. We will talk about how to transfer this to nicer paper a little later on.